Heavy free weight exercises should be the foundation of our training. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about this fundamental training principle. And when I say this, I want to make a couple of points clear. I am not saying other stuff doesn't have a use. I'm not saying we shouldn't do other stuff. I'm not saying I don't use other stuff or prescribe it for my clients. Also, I count body weight exercises, particularly because we can load those with weights, to be in this category. In other words, you'll see me doing weighted pull-ups. You'll see me doing barbell back squats. Right? These are body weight movements. But of course, if as we get stronger, we want to ideally add weight to them. It doesn't make sense to only do body weight stuff. But I do want to be clear, calisthenics and body weight movements absolutely do fall into this category. So again, there'll be some people who will chime in with that. And I'll be the first to say that, look, pull-ups and dips and things are great, right? They're great. All right, so when we make these statements, the things that we need to be clear here is that there were periods of time in the training world and fitness world where we saw massive trends go away from these things. And the only reason that occurred is due to heavy uses of anabolics, right, throughout all the bodybuilding and fitness world. In other words, average people who are not extremely genetically gifted in the physique department don't make that good of progress doing the other. Okay, they really don't, unless all those things come into the mix. And so when we saw a lot of that as the bodybuilding and fitness world, various substances, and we'll just call them substances, became the norm in heavy use, then obviously we saw a divergence in training, because then just about anything can start to work, particularly for people who are genetically gifted, people who are really lean naturally, things like that, right? But we saw a large divergence in this, and I kind of came through early on like YouTube well over a decade ago saying, no. Our basis needs to be the big movements. I was one of the people saying that. But I was also one of those people saying, but, we should probably do some curls and stuff too. It'd be a good idea. Because we were seeing the whole fitness world go in two directions back then. People who were all machines in isolation, and then people who were all big barbell movements, right? We saw a big divergence to where very few people were talking about both. Right, it was either one or the other, and it was a rather strange time for those of you who remember that era. So when we talk about training in this regard, I am saying that this is irrespective of what your goals are, because usually what are our goals for training? Either we're trying to actively gain muscle directly or indirectly, meaning a lot of times people are trying to gain muscle and they don't know they're trying to gain muscle. Examples, they want better body composition. Right, you're trying to lose body fat. Well, obviously, muscle improves body composition. Obviously, muscle mass helps you burn through more calories, helps you look leaner even at the same amount of body fat. Right, it helps you quote unquote tone up. All those things. People who are training for general health. Well, what gives you that? What staves off cancer? What staves off diabetes from actual training? Well, muscle mass. And that's not a controversial statement. This is understood in the scientific literature. What staves off sarcopenia, hip fractures, all these things. Well, gaining muscle, right? Gaining new muscle tissue. Okay. How about athletic performance? Oh yeah, a big chunk of that, the ability to produce force, gaining muscle, right? It helps you run faster, jump higher, helps you run longer. Again, assuming body weight doesn't become excessive. Right? But most people aren't gaining 50 pounds of body weight just from lifting weights. That's not how it works. So that aside, that is what they're trying to do. And then other people are actively trying to gain muscle. They want bigger legs. They want bigger arms. They want bigger shoulders. They want those things. Even if their goal is not to get massive, which it should never be a concern. I always tell that to people, like they'll say, well, I want to gain muscle, but I'm not trying to get that big. And the picture they show me is always someone on anabolics every single time. And it's like, well, don't fall on a syringe once a week and you don't have to worry about that happening. Okay? Don't start injecting things into your body. And if you do, if you just quit, it'll go away anyways, right? It's not permanent. So I digress. Over to the point, it should not be a concern. So, why the big movements? Why these big movements? They're efficient. If our goal is to gain muscle, irrespective of what those goals are, it is far easier to gain that muscle doing the big exercises, right? Let's say you want bigger pecs, bigger triceps, bigger front delts. What do you think is going to do that with the least amount of total work? A bench press, an incline bench press, things you see me doing here, incline bench, or doing a bunch of cable flies and some front raises and then some extensions. See where we're going with that? You're going to get a lot more bang for your buck. Okay, you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck doing the big exercises. And this is just upper body stuff. What happens when we get into the big structural movements? How about those barbell rows you saw me doing? How many muscles does that work through the whole body? How about the deadlifts? How about the squats? All right, all of those, particularly for an untrained person. I'm not saying advanced lifters are going to build all their stabilizers doing these, because we won't. But you're in your first few months training. Just take those 3 standing movements I just gave you. How much muscle are those exercises going to give you doing just 3 or 4 sets a week? A ton. They're going to build muscle through your whole body. About the only thing they're not going to build is the pressing muscles. Well, then maybe a flat bench or an incline bench will do that. There you go. They'll build everything else early on. It builds your foundation. I go so far as to say that if a person is chasing general health and they want to get the most muscle in the shortest amount of time, they want to get those benefits quickly, squats and deadlifts, or close variations of them. Again, they're efficient. The shortest amount of time in the gym, the least total sets, the least number of exercises, the big compound movements get it done. Other stuff is for refinement, right? Everything else really that you do is about filling in the gaps, filling in the weak links. You know, hey, maybe your biceps aren't getting big enough from these rows. In that case, it makes sense to do some curls with a dumbbell or a barbell. Maybe your side delts or your rear delts aren't getting enough growth from this stuff. Well, it makes a little sense to give them some extra love with some smaller movements. Maybe your hamstrings aren't getting quite enough development. So you might consider a machine hamstring curl or something at that point, because the deadlifts aren't maximizing it. Well, in that case it makes sense, right? You start filling in the gaps. But that's it. That's the purpose of all the other stuff that we do. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.